This episode of the Sportsman's Nation is brought to you by Outdoor Edge and their complete lineup of replaceable blade knives, fixed blade knives, and game processing kits. Now, we've all been there before, trying to field dress your wild game with a dull knife. This is where Outdoor Edge really steps in. With the razor safe system, you can have a brand new razor sharp blade with just the push of a button. No more dull blades and no more problems processing your wild game. To check out all of the products from Outdoor Edge, visit OutdoorEdge.com. And at checkout, enter the discount code NATION30. That's NATION30 for 30% off of your purchase.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ohio Huntsman Podcast. Today, you're going to hear an announcement on the podcast. So I guess cliffhanger, you got to listen on for the announcement. But before we get into that, I want to talk about our sponsor, Mastin's Deer Sense. Mastin's is a deer scent company. They're also a predator scent company, and they're getting their scent in more and more retail locations throughout the state. But maybe more conveniently, if they don't have it at a local retail store, you can order right from their website. Just go to mastinsdeersense.com, browse around, see what they have to offer. They've got a lot of interesting stuff. They've got scented gel crystals that you can refresh with their liquid scent. They of course have, your standard liquid scents. And I don't even want to call them standard liquid scents because they've got some scent combinations from different glands that I've not seen anywhere else. So lots of cool stuff. We've had good success with it, more so than other scent products, which I think says a lot. So check them out, mastinsdeersense.com. Welcome to the Ohio Huntsman Podcast, where three brothers, Jason, Jacob, and Jeff, discuss all things hunting in Ohio. Our goal is to be your source for accurate and reliable hunting news and conservation issues in the great state of Ohio, as well as some fun and interesting conversations along the way. This is the Ohio Huntsman Podcast.
Are you listening?
All right, so how you guys been? I guess it's long time no see. But yesterday we all hung out yesterday out at Grandma's out at the farm. Listeners, you've heard us talk about hunting out there. I met. I don't know if you guys had met him before, but one of the other guys that hunts out there, he's one of the neighbors down there, helps Grandma out around the house and whatnot. So it was good to meet him, talk to him, put a face with the name. I mean, we knew who he was as from a name and where he lived. I just had never met him, talked to him.
Yeah, it was.
But
good
I don't know about you guys. That kind of got my the juices churning for fall hunting season, being out there, and late summer just got the wheels turning, got the juices pumping a little bit.
Yeah, it was. Plus, he's a hunter, so he wanted to talk hunting, so that kind of helped too. He was talking, the little bit I was able to talk to him, he was kind of talking about what he's seen out there and getting his bow tuned in and getting things ready to go. So all good things.
He was saying they've got people doing damage to the fields, that somebody trespassing, riding dirt bikes, four-wheelers, kind of tearing some of the crops up back there at night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't talk to you about that?
No, I didn't hear him talk about it. I mean, when I took the kids around on the gator, I saw that there was a path where they had drove on the edge of the field and knocked crops down, but I just assumed it was the owner, the guy who does the farming, and I know his kids drive four-wheelers, so I just assumed it was them, and they just are stuck to the outside. They definitely had knocked some beans down, but I assume that's what that was.
Yeah, he said they don't know who it is, but there's people that have been riding dirt bikes and four-wheelers and stuff back there at night, so they're trying to get to the bottom of that. And then the other thing is, we're still in the middle of this crazy ammo situation. Jeff and I were both out. I don't know if Jeff, you went out specifically for ammo. I was out getting soccer stuff for Ella. She's going to be starting soccer here in another week or two. And while we were at the sporting goods store, I swung by the ammo section. But if you haven't looked at ammo recently, it's still expensive.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like this. I think, Jeff, you were at Finn, Feather, and Fur. I was at Dunham's. I don't know what it's like at the Finn, but at Dunham's, there was a lot of, like, shotgun ammo. I was looking at shotgun ammo of, like, unknown origin, like brands I hadn't, like Black Aces shotgun slugs. Now, for all I know, that they're being manufactured by Federal or whoever, I don't know, but it wasn't like your standard, Federal Winchester Remington shotgun ammo. They had a little bit of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that Black Aces they had at Fin Feather Fur as well.
Okay.
And I'd never seen it before, never heard of it. And it looked cheap. You know what I mean? Like it looked cheap.
Yeah.
So I should have picked the box up and looked at it, but it was more of like, well, that's weird.
It's funny you say that, because I did the same thing. I didn't even pick a box up. I just saw it there. I was like, I've never seen that before. That's weird. So, yeah. If we did have some luck finding some reasonable, if you're just using the lead rifled slugs, reasonable prices on boxes of 5 of that stuff. But if you're shooting the like the 12 gauge Sabo rounds, like the Hornady SSTs or something, those, from what I was seeing, that stuff's pushing $20 a box of 5, which, it's always been more expensive than the rifled slugs, but that was shocking.
Yeah. Prices, I mean, because Fin Feather Fur had a lot of ammo. If you were looking for ammo, they had it, but the prices were very high. Like $45 for a box of 350 Legend, $60 for a box of 4570. It was very expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, even your, basic, 7.5 shot was $11-12 a box. I mean, they had it, which was great.
Right.
But $11-12 a box is expensive.
Yeah. I mean, we did a episode on this previously, but it just kind of depends what your school of thought is. If your school of thought is, I want there to be ammo available for me to go hunting, and if I got to pay 5 times as much, at least I can go hunting, then that's a good thing. If your school of thought is only the rich man can afford to go hunting now, that's not a good thing. So I don't, it's however you want to interpret it, but I don't know what answer is right or wrong, but I've noticed the same thing, that their shelves are starting to have something on them, but the prices are still out of this world. So,
yeah. Walmart shelves, if you live near a Walmart that still carries ammo, this weekend was the first time I've seen any ammo on the shelves. But at Dunham's, same thing there. Like, there's ammo on the shelves. There's ammo to be had. It's just pricey. Which, to your point, Jake, it's like, well, at least it's there, right? And I guess if you had the time and could figure out the shipping schedules and when stuff's going to be delivered, maybe you could get it before. But for a long time, the only stuff on the shelves was like the real oddball cartridges that, people are not buying, not buying on a regular basis, not shooting on a regular basis. Now you can go in and get 22 long rifle, 223, 12 gauge ammo, buckshot. You can find that stuff there. It's just expensive. So I guess now that we've got the small talk out of the way, that brings us to, I guess, our main topic that we wanted to make everybody aware of. We are, I guess there's no way around it but to just say it. We are going to be ending the podcast. We're going to no longer do the show. It's been this will be 3 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
We started 18, 19.
Yeah, I think it's 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. This will be, so we've done the show for 3 years, and it's been a wild ride, right? We started recording back in my barn. We were doing a weekly podcast in person. You guys were driving to my house every week, or sometimes we'd try to record two in one day. But with an hour-long podcast, that got old pretty quick. It was hard to do two in a day, and you guys having to drive out here every day.
Right.
It's just hard to fit that in, right?
Yeah. We all work full-time jobs on top of that. So yeah, it was a after work on the weekend. It always has been endeavor for us. So yeah, it was tough to squeeze all that in and make it work. So we kind of pivoted a little bit once we realized we could do it and the sound quality was okay. We started doing remote recording which helped.
Yeah.
Time wise.
Yeah, it helps time wise. It's a little more challenging conversation wise, doing it remotely, but we've made it work. The vast majority of our episodes, whether you, the listener, know it or not, have been recorded remotely. So we're not sitting around a table looking at each other. We're recording through Skype here and using technology to talk over the internet. And I don't know, it's been a wild ride. It's been fun. I've learned a ton about this and what all goes into it. I have a ton of respect for anybody that does a weekly podcast and produces quality content and just keeps cranking out episodes. Because with a full-time job, family, and trying to find time to do this, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have anything to add there on kind of where we come from or the time commitment that you guys have had to put into things.
For me, I think we've just listening back. I listened back to some of our earlier episodes and I guess I'm a little biased. I'm listening to myself and my brothers, but I think we've all come a long way with our radio voice, so to speak, or recording and those early episodes, there was a lot of ums and uhs and awkward and,
Yeah.
So we've all developed a lot with that. We're not, it's not that we're ending it because we're sick of it necessarily or don't enjoy it, or we're certainly not leaving the outdoors or stopping hunting and fishing. It primarily, all of it comes down to just time. Jason and I have young families. Jeff's, starting a young family or soon, and it's you don't get time back. So this is a passion of ours. We've put a lot of time into it, a lot of effort into it, time, blood, sweat, tears. Like you said, we've gotten a lot out of it, learned a lot. It's brings a whole new aspect to hunting when you have to think about trying to share that experience with someone else.
Yeah.
It adds a whole new element that most people don't think of, that can be very, at least from my experience, detracting or distracting from your hunt. Not that
it certainly changes it.
Yeah, not that I don't or haven't enjoyed hunting the last 3 years. That's not what I'm saying, but it's definitely different when you're thinking, your thought isn't just, I got to get up in this tree as quiet as I can. It's, I got to get up in this tree and I have to document the process.
Yeah.
Which takes more time, it's all different,
Or you're sitting on a hunt where you're seeing nothing, nothing happened. You're walking back to the vehicle like, how am I going to make something interesting out of this, right? How am I going to make some sort of interesting conversation out of a hunt where I saw nothing? There was, nothing happened.
Right.
It's like, I hope Jacob and Jeff saw something.
Yeah, right. Or you take gun season of last year, opening day. It was a disaster. It was rainy, muddy, nasty, miserable hunting. And then day 2, where we hunted down at our cabin, it was a whiteout. Heavy, wet, nasty snow. So we didn't have a whole lot of success. It was pretty miserable hunting, and from 2 different extremes. Day 1 was like hot, quote unquote, for gun season and raining. And then it all froze overnight and turned the woods into a complete whiteout. You couldn't see anything because all the trees were covered with an inch of ice and 4 inches of snow. It was just in that. So we didn't have a whole lot of success on that hunt, and it makes it hard to talk about. You can talk about the suck of it, but nobody really wants to listen to you complain.
Right.
So it definitely brings a different aspect. And it's not, like I said, I don't want to say we haven't enjoyed it. We have. It's just, I think, time to explore some other avenues and kind of maybe get back to the basics, especially with, Ella, your daughter's going to be approaching hunting age. My daughter, I take her out. I just feel like it's important for us to be able to focus on them and that process.
If you're looking to get some last minute inventory on what deer are in the area or attract deer for an opening day hunt, Monster Whitetail Grub is a great tool to have in your toolkit. We've had good luck with their products. They've got their signature Monster Whitetail Grub feed, which is what we've primarily used. It's a high protein feed. It's got mineral mixed in, so even after the physical feed is gone, there's still something there to attract the deer to the site. They've got just straight mineral you can buy, or they've got flavored corn, which takes regular corn, which we all know deer love, and kicks it up a notch. So that could be a good option if you're in an area where lots of people are using bait as an attractant and you're looking for something different than just a pile of corn. So check them out. Go to ohiohuntsman.com/sponsors. There you can find information on how to get in touch with them. They may have product in a retail location near you, or you can order direct from Monster Whitetail Grow. So with that, let's get back into the conversation. Yeah, and I want to reiterate that, I've enjoyed it. It's been an awesome experience. It's been awesome getting to interact and engage with the audience. We've met some people through this, even if it's just been online, and there's a lot of great people out there in the state that are passionate about hunting. They've got young families, they've got older families, whatever. It's been cool to kind of build this community. And I'll say we're not totally shutting everything down. We're going to continue to have our website, and we've got some other ideas in mind that, will be a little more flexible on time versus a weekly podcast. So
Right.
if you want to stay engaged with us, make sure you're following us on social. And I'm going to be putting a sign up for our newsletter thing on the website. If that would be another great way. That way we've got your contact info, and when and if we sort of finalize on what it is we're going to do, we'll be able to notify you guys, and you can all kind of follow along and can continue to be part of this community that we've built.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, you going to add something? Yeah.
Well, just that we plan to continue, interacting on social media, just as much as we have, if not more. And yeah, we just kind of came to the realization that, the podcast is a huge time commitment for us, and we might be able to serve our audience better through other avenues.
Yeah.
That don't require as much time commitment from us, but our audience gets just as much out of it.
Yeah.
Well, and even if it's not less time commitment, it'll be more of time commitment on our terms. The hard thing about the podcast is it's weekly. So it's you got to record every week. You got to edit episodes, show notes. It's got to be every week. So something comes up, whatever, what I mean? It's the best week in the woods of hunting. You still got to record. You still got to do episodes. You still got, it's so it just becomes, or something comes up in your family or whatever, like you said, kudos to people that do it. And we've given it the old college try, we'll call it, but just with the fluctuation in schedules and changes in our, our day to day and families and priorities and that kind of stuff, it's just really hard to lock down that commitment every single week. So like Jeff said, I think you'll possibly and probably see more almost content from us on social media. It might be a lot one week, and then there might not be much for a week because we have lives too.
Right.
But I think overall, you'll probably start to see more from us.
Because the time we were spending on the podcast, we can now spend on social and sort of building out some of these other things. One of the things that we're talking about doing is some sort of a t-shirt business, and if you can't tell from this episode, this conversation, a lot of this is still in flux. We're still trying to figure things out. But one of the ideas we've kicked around, we have a family friend that has a t-shirt printing business, and so we're thinking about maybe trying to serve our audience in a way of, maybe providing some local content, t-shirt related, if that makes any sense, instead of just your sort of big network kind of I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but we're kicking around the idea of doing some sort of t-shirt stuff. That probably won't be the only thing, right? That's an idea that we're kicking around. So
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna, like, I guess to try and help you articulate your point, Jason, it'll be like we're gonna stick to our theme of Ohio specific, Ohio outdoors. So there'll be, we're hoping, like you said, it's none of this is concrete or planned necessarily, but our hope, our thought, our brainstorm session out of that came, like Ohio specific t-shirt designs, so you can represent Ohio specific outdoors, whether that's locations, species, whatever it is. Like I said, we don't have anything concrete. But that kind of, so it's not just out west hunting brands, or outdoor. A lot of the outdoor clothing brands are out west and they focus on out west. Nothing against elk or elk hunting, pronghorn, whatever it is, but just something that's be more Ohio specific, or at least, this Midwest region specific, Great Lake region. Like I said, nothing concrete, nothing in stone, but that's one of the things we've kind of talked about to kind of keep the overarching theme of, representing Ohio specific.
Yeah, because that's our audience. That's
right.
That's our community that we've built, that all the listeners are part of, and so we want to continue to try to serve that community in some fashion. And if you've listened to the the podcast for any length of time, you've probably come to know that we don't always come to these episodes with a fully thought out idea. We have a topic, and then we explore it on air, and you guys kind of get to hear us work through the idea, kind of toy with what if this, what if that in real time. And that's kind of what you're hearing here, right? There's not a lot of like, this is what we're doing and this is when it's going to be ready, because that we don't know that yet. We're trying to figure it out on the fly, and hopefully some of you will stick around and continue to interact and engage with us on social and through the website. Hope to do a little more. I mean, if you've been to the website recently, you probably noticed there hasn't been a lot of activity over there. We're hoping to, kind of do a little, write some articles here and there. I think that's a good way to get things like regulation changes out there. I mean, the ODNR puts that stuff out and we can talk about it, but a lot of times, like in an audio, you're driving, we're talking about specific dates or bag limits, or it's just kind of hard, you're mowing the grass or whatever, to kind of like jot that note down or commit that to memory. Whereas if you had a web page where the ODNR lists the changes, but we kind of break them down in plain English, or we get some clarification from the ODNR because we've built contacts over there, and we can kind of help get that information out. I think the website's a good way to do that, over an audio platform sometimes. So yeah,
and I mean, and that, like you said, that was kind of our, I guess, when we started this whole thing, our main goal or main mission of the podcast has always been to get information out to our listeners, whether that's educational, whether that's for the fun of it, whatever. But if you've listened for any period of time, a lot of our episodes, I shouldn't say a lot, but a fair amount of our episodes have been people from the ODNR related to things the ODNR does or says. We just feel like it's really important to get their information out. Not that they, not to bash on the ODNR, but they don't always, in my mind or our mind, do a great job of getting that information out to the masses. They seem like they've been better recently with their new, with the app and the stuff they've created. But when we started this 3 years ago, it was kind of like the regs book or nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So, our mission or what we wanted to do was get information to people through a different platform, which I feel like we've done a good job of. And in the process, we've, kind of fine-tuned other things and did some other stuff too. But, that's kind of, I guess I don't know where I'm going with this now at this point, but we're going to continue to provide information, Ohio specific, ODNR, because like Jason said, we have those relationships. We built those relationships. They seem to feel like we're reputable enough to where they get back to us generally pretty quickly with responses that we can then turn around and get out to you guys in, like Jason said, plain English or easy to understand, not legal jargon or whatever it might be.
Or how they're actually going to apply to hunters.
Right.
It's kind of a different thing of what the law says and how it's going to be, what that means to hunters, in actual practice.
Yeah.
And I think another big reason we were kind of started the podcast is that we kind of felt that the national hunting, media that was giving you tips and tricks and ideas, didn't necessarily represent what we were seeing in the field, here in Ohio. They would talk about strategies and it's like, yeah, I've never seen, that is not the way the deer react here. Like they don't do that here, so I hope that we'll be able to, kind of continue with that kind of stuff, but just in a social media and article, platform.
Yeah. And I the one thing I think I'll circle back on, Jake was talking about how back when we started this, felt like, a lot of times the ODNR would put information out and then that was it, right? You had the regs book. Well, they've, in my opinion, they've come a long way with utilizing social media. I see them making multiple posts about things, making sure that the information's getting out. I don't know. They don't typically, Jeff, maybe you would have a better idea of this. They don't typically respond too much to comments on social media, do they? Like questions?
They're starting to do it more and more. I mean,
Okay.
I feel like 3 years ago they would post something and the comment section was the Wild West.
Yeah.
People would just comment whatever. Now they will at least respond to some of the comments, if you have a good question. And a lot of times now they're putting, they'll post something to social media and then in the comments they'll post like a paragraph explaining, kind of the above post, a little bit better, or like, hey, if you want more information, go here. So
yeah, so I guess where I was going with that is the ODNR has come a long way with getting that information out, trying to make it more understandable, more digestible. And so while there is still a need for it, I think, because sometimes the ODNR can review something 100 ways and think, yep, it makes perfect sense. There's no way people can misinterpret this. And then as soon as it hits the world, the rest of the public, it's like, well, do they mean this or do they mean that? And it's just hard. It's hard to foresee all of that, right? And so there is still, I think, some need for something like this, whether it be a podcast or articles or something, to kind of review that stuff. What does that actually mean? That kind of thing. But I will say the ODNR has come a long way with that kind of stuff, and so there's less of a need because they're doing a pretty good job utilizing social media to engage with and get information out to the masses, if you will. I mean, this year you're seeing stuff like, we don't know what the bag limit's going to be when the regs for spring turkey season. We did an episode on that, like the spring turkey 2022 spring turkey bag limits are not in the book. The book just says, we're going to figure that out later. Something to that effect. Which prior to the digital age and social media and being able to update people with that information, buying tickets, I almost said tickets, buying tags online and things, they were kind of handcuffed. Whatever they were going to do had to be ready for that regs book printing. They were printing paper copies, right? And it had to be ready, so I guess I just say all that to say kudos to them, or kind of give them a round of applause on just utilizing some of these digital tools to get information out in a more effective way. But yeah, I guess back to the podcast. I don't know if there's much else to say. Well, I will say the plan is we're still going to produce content through the end of September. So our last episode will be September 29th, excuse me. That last Wednesday of September. We've been publishing on Wednesdays since we joined Sportsman's Nation. And we're leaving the network on good terms. We've talked to Dan, and he understands the decision. He was bummed, of course. We're kind of bummed, but we're also excited for what the future holds, and kind of being able to allocate what little bit of time we do have to put towards some type of side hustle to other things. So I don't know. Anything else that you guys think we need to mention that we should talk about?
I mean, the only other thing that I could think is obviously just thanks to all of our listeners and the people that have, given us an hour of their life every week.
Yeah.
I mean, like Jason said, we've really enjoyed doing it, meeting a lot of new people, learned a lot of things from listeners, that have reached out to us and said, hey, I heard you talk about this. This is what I do, or whatever. I never dreamed of, I mean, there's so many episodes, I can't even list them, of guests we've had on that I didn't even know was a thing. Like in Ohio, local people doing outdoor stuff. It's like, I didn't even know that was an option, like, but shed dogs, and I mean, just all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that content was recommended or suggested by listeners. A lot of, a fair amount of our guests were people that a listener contacted us and said, hey, you should talk to this person. Sponsors, Monster Whitetail Grub, Maston's Deer Sense. They, two companies that I never would have known a thing about other than the podcast, and two products, they each have more than one product, obviously, but their products are, and it's not just because they've sponsored our show, like their products are legitimately better than what we have found in the big box stores.
Yeah.
I mean, their scent works. I can't say the same for all the scents that you can buy in a big box store. I've seen success from the scents from Maston's, and same thing with Monster Whitetail Grub. We did, side by sides, I guess in full disclosure, so to speak. I mean, we didn't just put Monster Whitetail Grub on as a sponsor because they were willing to be a sponsor. We trialed their stuff. We tested their stuff against other feeds and attractants, and it works. I mean, it does. It works.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 products that, I'll continue to use and support going forward. Ohio company. Again, that's another thing that we were big on and have stayed true to is, Ohio specific podcast, Ohio specific companies for the most part, things we're doing and trying to support. We're trying to keep it local. So just thanks to sponsors, thanks to the listeners. It's been fun. We appreciate you guys. Hope you stick around. We feel like we still got some more to offer.
Yeah, and while you were talking, Jake, the other thing I thought of is some people might ask, why is this not the last episode? Why are you guys telling us you're going away, you're shutting the podcast down, and then going to continue to do a couple more podcasts? We talked about it, we debated that, and it just felt more right to let the audience know before the very last episode, to kind of continue on like nothing was happening, and then just like tear the rug out from under you. And I haven't even run this by you guys yet, but I was kind of thinking our very last episode, we could do like a big Q&A, kind of a farewell Q&A. If you guys send us enough questions to make it worthwhile, otherwise we'll find, we always find something to chat about. But, Jake, Jeff, if you guys are cool with it, I thought we could kind of put the word out there, anything and everything, whatever questions you have about the podcast, about life, about hunting, whatever, anything, that you've wanted to ask and maybe didn't get around to asking, didn't want to ask, whatever, this would be your kind of your last chance, at least in this format. I mean, like we've said all along, we're not completely going away, but just felt like maybe a nice kind of send off, interact with the audience and do a big Q&A session.
Yeah, that would be fine by me. It's I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know what people even want to know. So if you guys ask questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it'll depend on whether or not we get enough questions to make it worthwhile,
Right.
So if I guess you, the listener, if that's something you want to hear, you want to make happen, send us all your questions. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I'll just end this one with a not a goodbye, but a see you later. This, I don't want this to be a goodbye forever. Like we've said, we've appreciated the community that's grown up around this and the people and everybody that listens every week, and hopefully we can find another way that works a little better with our available time, still provide some relevant content or some fun things, and continue to interact and engage with you all in some other fashion. But so this is a not a goodbye, but a farewell. We'll see you later. See you on the other side of whatever comes out of this. All right. Anybody, you got any other closing words, or should we leave it with that?
I think you
fine
got
with
it.
leaving it with that.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you got it.
So that's it for this week. Kind of a bittersweet episode. Sad for the end of the podcast, but excited for what the future may hold. And with that, I think we're going to shut it off. As always, as I've said for years now, thank you all for listening. It's been great. So there's still a few more episodes left that we're gonna do. Like we said, we didn't want to have the farewell episode be the last episode, or letting you know that we're no longer going to be doing the podcast be the absolute last episode. So as we said in there, if you guys have questions for us, shoot us a message, ohiohuntsman@gmail.com. Send us a message on Facebook. We're Ohio Huntsman on Facebook, Ohio Huntsman _podcast on Instagram. Whatever, ask us anything, and if we get enough questions, we'll do a Q&A session as the sort of farewell episode at the end. So with that, thank you all, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.